يعني ممكن تنقصنا بس انه غلط ان شاء الله ما تنقص لازم تنقص هذا يعني بالخبره النقص هذا لازم انه خطا ما
شوف ها جبت ما خلص بشوي
شغل الكل
نبغى اليوترس وفجأة
So today we will do the joints of the pelvis. But before starting to the next lecture, last day and in the previous lecture, there was a mistake done by me which was about the median sacral vein. Okay, median sacral vein usually drains into the left common iliac vein. Okay, but I said the iliac artery. Left iliac vein, but it is the left common iliac vein. Okay, so this was the mistake which was done in the last lecture. So now we are starting with the joints of the pelvis, and the first of all, the joints is the first and the larger you can say joint within the pelvis, the sacroiliac joint. And this sacroiliac joint, if you see here, this joint is formed on two sides of the sacrum, where we have the auricular surface over the sacrum as well as the articular surface on the iliac bone. Okay, so these two articulates with each other to form the sacroiliac joint, and this sacroiliac joint is classified as the strong synovial joint. It is a strong synovial joint, and it is formed between the two articular surfaces on each side between the sacrum and the iliac bone. First we go through the nerve supply. Nerve supply, as it is located within the pelvic cavity, it is supplied by the sacral spinal nerves. Now to see that how strong or stable this joint is, it is surrounded by the ligaments, or you can say it has the ligament externally as well as internally. Externally, there are two ligaments which are present one on the anterior aspect of the joint and one on the posterior aspect of the joint, and they are named as the anterior and the posterior sacroiliac ligaments. So anterior and posterior sacroiliac ligament. The anterior sacroiliac ligament, it is very thin in its texture, or you can say it is not as such strong as the posterior sacroiliac ligament. So the anterior, posterior, and third group is the interosseous ligament. Interosseous ligament means which is the ligament which is present between the articular surfaces of the two bones. Okay, so you can see here these are the interosseous ligaments which are present between the articular surface of the iliac and the sacrum bone, and behind is another strong ligament which is named as the posterior sacroiliac ligament, and anteriorly, which is not shown over here but it is here, it is the anterior sacroiliac ligament. It is very thin, but and not as such strong as the posterior and the interosseous ligaments. Okay, so these two ligaments, the posterior and the interosseous ligament, help in stabilizing the joint while transferring. The function of this joint, if you see, the function of this joint is what? They transfer the weight of the body, weight of the vertebral column down towards the pelvic girdle. Okay, so this joint helps in transferring the weight of the vertebral column from above down towards the pelvic girdle. Okay, pelvic girdle. What is pelvic girdle? We have pectoral girdle here. Similarly, we have pelvic girdle. The model which I brought, all which has the two iliac bone. Behind we have the sacrum. This is forming the pelvic girdle. Okay, so the sacroiliac joint, it helps in the transfer of the weight. So pelvic girdle, listen. Pelvic girdle is what? Two hip bone, and behind we have the sacrum. Anteriorly they are articulating at the pubic symphysis. Behind they are articulating at the sacroiliac joint. So this whole rounded, you can say, structure, basin shaped structure, this is named as the pelvic girdle. Okay. Then, so they help in the transfer of the weight of the vertebral column down toward the or into the pelvic girdle. Then from the pelvic girdle, the weight is transferred by the joint, that is the hip joint, over the femur. Okay. So now, if here it is written, the transfer of the weight of the body of the vertebral column to the bony pelvis. What are the movement that is possible? There is very little, or you can say no movement is possible. Very little movement is possible in the young age, but as the old advances, the joint fibros and the limitation of movement takes place. Okay, movement and the function and the ligament that we have done, the anterior sacroiliac ligament, behind we have the posterior sacroiliac ligament, and between the two articular surfaces of the sacrum and the iliac on each side, we have the interosseous ligament. These are the ligaments. Strong posterior ligament, then we have interosseous sacroiliac ligaments between the sacrum and the iliac bone, and the anterior sacroiliac ligament. These are the three ligaments. Type of joint, it is a strong synovial joint. Nerve supply comes by the sacral spinal nerves. Okay. Function is to transmit the weight of the vertebral column over the pectoral pelvic girdle. Now, as it is transferring the weight of the vertebral column of the upper part of the body over the pelvic girdle, but have you seen the bodybuilder when they raise the weight, what their position is like this? You have watched the on the movies or in the television, that when they raise the weight, what position they go down and slightly forward, not backward. Okay, so this what due to the increase in weight in the upper part of the body, what happens? The vertebral column exerts their pressure on the sacrum, and the sacrum, and what you know, the position of the sacrum is showing slightly concavity. When the pressure applied from above, it has to move forward. Okay, it has to move slightly forward as the arrow indicates. But as you know, the boundaries of the pelvic outlet. What are the boundaries of the pelvic outlet? Pelvic outlet. Tip of the coccyx behind. Ischial tuberosity and the inferior margin of sacrotuberous ligament, and anteriorly we have the pubic arch. So this sacrotuberous ligament, as it is present between the sacrum and the tuberosity, ischial tuberosity, they prevent the forward movement of the lower end of the sacrum and the coccyx. Okay, otherwise they move forward and there is a chances of the damage to the pelvic viscera. So that's why the lower margin of sacrotuberous ligament, it is during also in the process of the delivery of the baby, it becomes tight to maintain the pelvic outlet. Otherwise, if it is lax or loose, it will narrow the pelvic outlet. So this ligament, sacrotuberous, mainly holds the sacrum in this position. Clear? Is it? Yes.
Becoming what in the birthing?
What in the?
Sacrotuberous.
Yes.
Becoming what?
It becomes tight. Tight, or you can say constricted, to maintain the sacrum in its anatomical position. Clear? So this is how this by the as there is a transfer. You can see first arrow which shows the weight of the trunk. Okay, and the second arrow which shows the axis. That is when the weight comes, it has to move forward. But in this direction, the lower arrow where there are the presence of the sacrotuberous mainly and sacrospinous also is there. But the sacrotuberous ligament becomes tightened and prevents its forward movement further out of the anatomical range. Clear? So this was the sacroiliac joint. Then we come to the second type of the joint, which is the pubic symphysis. Pubic symphysis, as we know, it lies anteriorly between the two pubic bones, and it is the joint where the two types of cartilages are present. When the two bones are articulating, this area is given by, or we can say surrounded by the hyaline cartilage. Articular surface, you can see it is covered by hyaline cartilages. This is the pubic symphysis. And these articular surfaces, they are surrounded by the hyaline cartilage, and the whole of the joint it is covered by a fibrocartilaginous covering. So it is said that it is mainly a fibrocartilaginous joint with a hyaline cartilage between the articular surfaces. Clear? Yes. Fibrocartilaginous joint, which are, this is basically fibrocartilage. It is forming the disc. It forms the disc between the two articular areas. Then again, this joint has two types of ligament, one over the anterior aspect and one on the posterior aspect, which are named as the anterior and posterior symphysial ligament. Because this is symphysis, so their ligaments are named as anterior and posterior symphysial ligaments. Clear? Movement, there is no movement possible on this joint. Then we have the sacrococcygeal joint, which is the very small and the joint that lies between the inferior surface of the last sacral vertebra and the superior surface of the first coccygeal vertebra. This is named as the sacrococcygeal joint, and there is movement possible, and you get highly extensive flexion and extension. These two types of movement are possible or over the sacrococcygeal joint. Now, this was the main joint is the, remember, is the sacroiliac joint. So three joints we have done. Yes. Which one? Yes, this side. So now, as the sacroiliac joint, they are the large joints. If there is any sort of problem, any sort of secondary involvement of the sacroiliac joints, and we know this is supplied by the lower lumbar and the sacral spinal nerves, then what can happen if you know the root value of the sciatic nerve is add 4, 5, and 1 is 1, 2, 3. Okay. So when there is disease or any disease involving the sacroiliac joint, which have effect over the pelvic, lower sacral and the sacral nerve, lower lumbar and the sacral nerve, they can produce the pain which appears like the involvement of the sciatic nerve. So it resembles that this may be sciatica which radiate along the area of the transfer of the or supply of the sciatic nerve. So it resembles the sciatica. Second thing, when this joint produces severe pain, like if there is involvement, it is producing the pain. But what happens when you perform the flexion of the joint? When we are performing the flexion of the vertebral column, we have the hamstring muscle on the back. They hold the hip bone or the tightly. But as a result of the flexion, the sacroiliac joint, there is involvement of the nerves. They can produce severe pain resembling that of the area of supply of the lower lumbar and the sciatic nerve. So in the position of the flexion, when there is in the young age or middle age, when there is slight mobility is present, it can create severe pain. Then there is a condition poikilonia. What is this? This is usually happens in the aeroplane accident. When the aeroplane as a whole fell down on the ground, what will happen? You are sitting with the belt on the seat of the aeroplane. You also have the same jerk from below. Okay, same jerks from below, which are you can say the pressure is applying from below upward. As a result, the fracture of the coccygeal vertebra can take place. So this condition is named as poikilonia. Okay. Then we come to the condition which is appears in the pregnancy. Pregnancy, as I told you yesterday, that although the pelvic cavity is very small and the pelvic diaphragm is there, but with the release of the hormones named as the relaxin, this releasing hormone acts on the joints as well as the pelvic diaphragm to produce slightly loosening of the vertebra which is holding the sacroiliac joint. Okay, as a result, the cavity slightly increased to make the room for the baby. So this is due to the release of the hormones, mainly the relaxin. And this interosseous, as I told you, is a very strong ligament. They hold the pubic and the iliac and the sacral bones tightly, so that they do not allow the abducting or the opening of the joint. Now, when there is fracture of the pelvis takes place, there are certain conditions that can take place. First, there can be, if the it is said that when you will see the pelvic brim, it is very hard structure, and when there are fracture of one point on the ring is named as the arrangement of this bone. When one point fracture is there, there will be no disruption of the area of the pelvic. Suppose this is a ring is formed. Okay. This ring is formed. We have the pubic bones, and here we have the iliac bones, and behind we have the sacrum, and then we have the coccyx. If there is fracture due to any accident, suppose they are appear on one point over here, then due to the attachment of the different external and internal muscles and the ligament, this ring will not be disturbed. Okay, and if the bones are along or in front of each other, they will unite. But when there are fracture either on two opposite sides or two sides on the two areas on the same side, then it is possible that due to the normal muscles of the one side, they can pull the bones which are united with that side. Is it clear or not? And they will move apart. So disruption of the continuity of the ring can take place when there are 2 points of fracture in the pelvic bones or the pelvic girdle. Now what can happen? First is this side. Second thing is that when there is, suppose anything enters into the pelvic cavity, it damages the internal iliac veins. Internal iliac vein. What can happen? There will be profuse or heavy bleeding takes place within the pelvic cavity. First is the damage or rupture of the internal iliac veins. So there is a possibility of heavy bleeding within the pelvic cavity. Now in the male, in the female, rupture of urethra is less common as compared to the male, because most of our part of urethra is outside the pelvic cavity. So when you fell down, like you are running on a wall, your foot slipped down and you enter over the, this can happen, this usually happen a lot of cases. Then what happened? The rupture of the urethra can take place. Okay? The rupture of the urethra can take place. Okay? And so that's why try to take care when you are running on the wall. So they will slip and you will be on the, so rupture of the urethra can also take place. And then bladder. Rupture of the bladder is also a common condition, but in a state when there is excessive accumulation of urine. Because when there is excessive accumulation of urine, as I told you last lecture, that the bladder comes in the abdominal area and it is in direct contact with the anterior abdominal wall. So there is chances of the rupture of the bladder in a case when there is excessive accumulation of urine. Otherwise, same, the bladder is behind the pubic symphysis when it is empty. Then you know that rectum is present over the anterior aspect of the sacrum and it has a concavity. So the rectum is protected because anterior to this, in the female we have the uterus, then we have the bladder, then pubic bone. But behind we have the sacrum only. So any blow from the back can cause the rupture or damage to the rectum, not from the front. Very little chances from the front, but due to the damage or accidental injury from the back can result in the tearing or the damage of the rectum. Okay? Damage to sciatic nerve can take place how? As we know, the sciatic nerve coming out of the pelvic cavity from the greater sciatic foramen. So above we have the iliac bone and below we have the ischium, and it is closed by the ligament sacro-tuberous and sacrospinous ligament. So any damage, any incidentally to the from the behind to the pelvic ischial bone or to the sacrum can result in the damage of the sciatic nerve. So these are the some types of accidental injuries which can involve different vessels or the nerves. Now we know that in the female or in male we both have the pelvic diaphragm, but important one is the case of female. In the females, as I said, the normal type of female pelvis is gynecoid type, which is 41% in the females. And this type of pelvis or the outlet, sometimes in some females it is male type or palatopelloid or other type, that is they have less space in the pelvic cavity. Now because with the as the child appears or enters from the false pelvis into the true pelvis, but if the type of pelvic outlet is not normal, it is narrow, so what can happen? What can happen? There will be, when the baby has to pass, what will happen? It can, after the delivery, if you remember the structure, This is the appearance of the pelvic diaphragm. Okay. Anteriorly there is a small gap. When there is difficulty in the delivery of the baby due to the short pelvis or narrow pelvis or male type of family pelvis, what can happen? Then there will be, when there some gynecologists they apply the excessive pressure during the vaginal delivery. What will happen after the delivery? These anterior opening in the pelvic diaphragm, it remains. Normally what happens after the delivery of the baby, it comes to its normal position. Then sometime what happens in the difficult labor, difficult delivery of the baby, this opening will remain large. It does not come back to its normal position because of the excessive stretching. Then what can happen? As the baby was in the uterus, okay, the lower part of the uterus, which is continuous, is named as the vagina. So after the delivery of the baby, this becomes weak and the vagina can prolapse down. And sometimes also, along with the vagina, the uterus also comes out from this opening. So this is named as uterine or vaginal prolapse. Okay, uterine and vaginal prolapse. And we know that anterior to the uterus is the bladder, because there is a space between the bladder and the uterus. What is that called? Pouch. Uterovesical pouch. Okay. Then, as a result, when the uterus is moving or this area is weak, what can happen? There is a chances of the herniation of the bladder also, which is named as the cytocele. Now, when this diaphragm is overstretched, it does not come back to its normal position. This intermediate fiber, what is the name of this intermediate fiber? Puborectalis. Puborectalis. What is the function? It acts as a constrictor at the junction of the rectum with anal canal. Okay. It usually, when you are coughing or we have severe chest in congestion, it usually keeps the anorectal junction constricted. Okay. When you can experience also when you cough loudly or with a heavy, you will feel the pressure in your lower part, that is the pelvic diaphragm, so that it is closed. That is the rectoanal junction is closed. What happens when this pelvic diaphragm is weak due to the difficult labor? This puborectalis muscle, which is constricting the anorectal junction, it remains weak, and there is chances of continence. When there is a heavy coughing after the delivery to the mother, there are chances of the incontinence. Okay. This is also named as stress incontinence. Stress incontinence. And when this area, this around the area, this puborectalis muscle is weak, there is also a chance for the rectum to come down out of the anal opening. So there is also chances of the prolapse of the rectum. Then there is another condition which is named as dystocia. Dystocia is the same with the difficult labor, that is, it occurs in the female which has short pelvis, which has which are the females which are grown in poor environments, poor socio-economic condition, or they perform the labor work. So this is common, this condition, that is dystocia or difficult labor in those females. Now, if you see on the sacral plexus, there are in the sacral plexus, when the baby's head enters from the pelvic rib into the pelvic cavity. If you remember the diagram, and I show you that the first, when the baby enters, it has its face towards the right or the left side for its anterior-posterior diameter along the transverse diameter. So it rests either on right or on the left side. Now when baby is there in the later stages of the pregnancy, when the mother is lying down on the right side, they will have pressure effect on the right sacral nerves. And when the mother turns towards the left side, they will have pressure on the left sacral nerve. That's why it is advised during pregnancy to the mother not to sleep on a single position. Keep on changing the position so that her nerves cannot be pressed by the head of the fetus. Okay, so this is the condition, the precautions which are prevented by from the pressure of the head of the fetus. Now there is another condition. You have done the obturator nerve with the lumbar plexus. I think you have done the obturator nerve. Anyhow, this obturator nerve enters into the pelvic cavity, and where it goes? It goes on the lateral wall from the obturator foramen. Okay. Now this obturator nerve on both sides, right and the left side. On the right side there is a structure named as at the junction of the ilium with the colon. What is that? Vestigial structures. Ileocecal junction, and on its posterior medial side we have appendix, posterior medial side. Now when there is inflammation of the appendix, this inflamed appendix can press the obturator nerve on the right side, due to which this inflamed obturator nerve have pressure or inflammatory response over the obturator nerve, and this obturator nerve is supplying the which area of the medial side of the thigh. So the pressure effect will go along the area of distribution of the obturator nerve on the right side, not on the left side. This is named as the referred pain. Referred pain. Okay. This is all about the joints. First we have done, and the clinical, which you were asking, that the clinical for the pelvic girdle or the pelvic cavity and the sacral plexus. Sometimes can be asked. Okay. Clear? Any question? Any question? Then we come to the last day when what you asked about the round ligament. You understand it or not? He asked about we are talking about the long ligament of the ovary. We talked about the broad ligament. We talked about the suspensory ligament. And I did not explain the round ligament. Why? Because this was not the part of our lecture, because actually this is the embryological derivative. You know what is round ligament? Round ligament of the uterus. What is round ligament of the uterus? If you remember in the embryology, where our gonads are present, testes in male and ovary in female, during development. During development. Any idea? Where they are present? They are present in the posterior abdominal wall. They are present in the posterior abdominal wall. During development, the gonads in male and female, they are present in the posterior abdominal wall, and from our pelvic cavity increases in size and the length of the body increases, these gonads, they move down into the labio-scrotal swelling. Labio-scrotal swelling. Why name labio? We are talking about the development of what is round ligament of uterus. Okay? And these testes and ovary, when the baby is in the process of development, they are located in the posterior abdominal wall. Okay? But with the increase in size of the pelvic cavity and the size of the abdomen, these gonad's, their drain passes down into the area named as labio-scrotal swelling, because there is no demarcation that the baby is boy or girl. I am talking on that period, initial period of development. So this will be sent down into the area which is named as labio-scrotal swelling. Now how it moves down? There is a cord-like structure which is named as the gubernaculum. This gubernaculum is basically the cord-like structure which guide our gonads to go, if we are male, it to go into the scrotum. If the baby is female, to go down and stay within the pelvis. Okay? Now this gubernaculum which guides the testis, suppose in male, towards the scrotum. Okay? And after when these testes they reach into the scrotum, this gubernaculum disappears. But in case of female, this gubernaculum, while taking the ovary on its way towards the labio-scrotal swelling, what happens? This ovary, it stays within the pelvic cavity, does not go down into the labio-scrotal swelling. Okay? But this gubernaculum has to guide it up to the labio-scrotal swelling, but the ovary is not there. The ovary stayed in the pelvic cavity. This part of the gubernaculum which remains in the females after the delivery, this will be named as the round ligament of. This was actually the embryology, but because people were asking, so I explained it. So this is not the part of. Anyhow, so you must know what is round ligament of the uterus. It is the remains of the gubernaculum in case of female. Okay? Clear? Any question? Yes. Any question? You are looking for question? No.